Hey, welcome back to Tuesday Truth. Today we're in Psalm 67, which is a super happy psalm that's totally global in its happiness. And this is a great one to pray over different friends you might have in different nations. Let's take a look. Verse 1 says, "May God be gracious to us and bless us and make his face to shine upon us." You should immediately think of Abraham when you hear that. The idea of blessing is first kind of seen there in Genesis 12. And if you remember that, it's not just a blessing on Israel, but also a blessing that will then bless all the nations. And you should also think of Aaron when you see this first verse, because he pronounced a blessing on Israel that was referring to God's face and his light shining upon them, that the presence of God himself would provide happiness to his people. So this is a rich historical blessing that usually was preserved for Israel, now overflowing to the nations. Because look at what it says is the recipient. It says, "Let the peoples praise you, O God. Let all the peoples praise you." This is not just the people of Israel. This is plural peoples, peoples from all over. And then it says in verse 4, "Let the nations be glad and sing for joy." This is not just one nation. This is all nations. And if we remember Revelation 7 and some of the worship scenes of heaven, we know that every tribe and language and people will be gathered around the throne worshiping God. Now notice that the gladness and the joy that comes from the peoples throughout the globe actually results because of God's kingship. He will judge the peoples with equity. He will guide the nations upon the earth. So it's not just God being the genie of all nations and giving them what they want. It's actually God being in control that produces ultimate happiness in humans. And so then we see again the refrain, "Let the peoples praise you, let all the peoples praise you." And then we see at the end of this psalm him use a harvest analogy. It says, "The earth has yielded its increase. God our God shall bless us. God shall bless us. Let all the earth, the ends of the earth fear him." And so there's sort of a sense of we're already starting to experience the first fruits of all the peoples finding their gladness and happiness in God. But there's a coming day when the harvest will really come in. Now this is a happy song, but in truth, 42% of the earth's population does not know Jesus Christ. They do not know the gospel. And the sad reality is millions of people are going to die with never knowing of the name Jesus. Because Christians tend to populate in specific parts of the earth, and there's many places on earth that are unreached with the gospel. So we should actually see the incredible promise here of happiness for all peoples that comes from the gospel and knowing your sins are taken away by Jesus Christ. And it should inspire us to be a part of the mission of the church, to take the gospel to the ends of the earth, especially to those who've never heard of Jesus Christ. So even as we read this psalm and we're inspired and we see the happiness that's for all nations, let's all be considering how we can be praying more for the advancement of the gospel in other places. And let's maybe even be considering, is God calling me to go and take the gospel to another place? All right, I'll see you next time on Tuesday Truth.